Hello and welcome to this week's CW3 Confidence, Women, Wealth, and Wellness. And we are talking to Robert Schein, who's going to give us an update as to everything that is happening in the economy and specifically to small businesses. So welcome, Robert. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Bronwyn?
I'm doing really well. Thanks, Rob. So with everything that's been going on, boy, we've had a turn of events here. So we've been dealing with coronavirus and then now all of the protesting. You know, what are you seeing from an economic perspective with all of this happening?
Well, yeah, certainly. And, thoughts and prayers to everyone out there. This is truly heartbreaking to see, America in the state that we're in right now, coming off of the last 2 months that was hard enough, if you will. I can't help but notice that, the heartbeat of America are small businesses, right? Those are the small businesses are the ones that employ all Americans in the United States. And that's our true economic engine as it relates to, the economy here in the United States. And so, long term, never bet against America, never bet against Americans, and we'll always find a way to get to the right place. In the meantime, there's this if we look at the economy itself, we saw Congress pass sort of that safety net, that paycheck protection program administered by the Small Business Association for small businesses, as well as they deployed another program that is the Economic Disaster Relief Program. Those are loans to the U.S. government for small business owners that's separate from the Paycheck Protection Program, which very specifically is a grant, if you will, if you use it once granted by the government, and if you use it to keep your employees retained or get them back off of unemployment, if you will. And that's a short period of time. That's an 8-week period of time. And the information on that is changing constantly by the Small Business Association and the U.S. Treasury. So it's always important to check with your CPA as it relates to the program very specifically. If you're qualified for that, and more importantly, if you receive those funds, you got to keep those funds separate, segregated on the Paycheck Protection Program, because there's very limited sort of things that you can use it for. But that is in place. Again, as I talked with you weeks back, encourage everyone to continue to keep applying or checking in. There's 800 numbers that the Small Business Association has, and there's representatives actually you could reach out to and follow up. I did that for one of my clients, and there's if you filed one of those claims, there's an application number, so you can call them and see where you are in that queue. On the other side, there's the disaster relief, which is a note that has an interest rate. So it's a 30-year loan for small businesses that you have with the U.S. government. And it's basically less than about 3.5%, 4%, I think, in that range over the course of 30 years. So that's something you have to pay back. It's not something that you should run out and get for your small business, but that is a program that's out there. And, Bronwyn, those are meant to be sort of short-term solutions to bridge the gap, because we had the government mandated lockdown. Never before in history have we ever quarantined healthy people, but time and science will prove out and show in this period of time in history to say, hey, the government came to sort of the rescue, to provide that assistance to bridge the gap of the last 2-3 months, to ultimately hold on. The small businesses, if we hold on and bridge that period of time, we know there's green shoots in the economy that we're seeing across, not outside the United States or outside California specifically, all across the United States. We follow what's called, Bronwyn, high frequency data. And what that is data that we see on a daily basis on the economy. And it looks and tracks things like the TSA, so travelers day over day. We want to see if people are actually traveling again. And that is obviously coming off of the lowest numbers that we've ever seen in history, but day over day, there's momentum building and it's positive. Traffic as it relates to people driving, that's building up. Open Table. So there's a resource you could look at, Open Table, and the economic information to see if people are actually going back into restaurants, because that's so critically important. We need, one thing is to reopen America. The other thing is, if we reopen America, will America come back, right? Will we actually want to go back out of our houses and go back into the retail world? 2/3 of our economy, our gross domestic product, are consumers. So the one final aspect I want to give you here, Bronwyn, sort of to support all of a sort of a positive in nature, just hold on as a small business owner, because the wave is coming of pent up consumption. Okay, so there's some revenue that you may never be able to recover or recoup, especially in a service industry. But there is evidence to prove and support that, keep in mind, that $500 billion was deployed by, again, the Congress and Treasury. And we're looking at that into what we see from an economy standpoint. It's the M2 money supply. Not to get too technical, it's just to show all the money that's in the banks right now for small businesses and into checking accounts across the United States. That's a real economic real-time measure. That spiked 82% in the last 13 weeks, which means that money has been deployed into retail America's hands, or consumers' hands, and that will make its way into retail America. So there's a glimmer of hope for small businesses. I just say, there's economic assistance out there from the government. There's true pent-up demand. I think everyone wants to get back out there and visit their favorite stores. I think there's also money in the banks to be able to be deployed. So that's sort of a big picture economic update for you, as to say, I think, markets see that, equity markets see that, and see through, not only this year, but into future corporate earnings. Some of our favorite places, like Lululemon and a few other places,
Yeah, so with that being said, Robin, that is a really great overview. What can you suggest, either it's coming from you and or a CPA or collectively, for a small business owner? How do they know which loan would be right for them to apply for?
Right. So right away, if you haven't already been in contact with your CPA, I truly encourage you to do so. CPAs are often given by the U.S. Treasury sort of a playbook of what they could advise on their particular clients on, and what would be appropriate. So I would start with your CPA and start there, and then walk your way through. Even the SBA.gov is actually a very useful resource right now. And it's very self-explanatory too. It kind of puts together some categories that you may fit in if you're a small business owner.
Mm-hmm. I even noticed that they're going to be unveiling another opportunity for women in small business. So I think that they're going to be coming up with a loan for women in small business, when I was actually looking at the SBA.gov site the other day. So I found that to be rather interesting. So, this is some really great insight, Rob, and I really, really appreciate it. And I'm sure our viewers do too. And our hearts just go out to the small business. Like you said, it's the heartbeat of America. And myself, I'm a small business owner. And I think the message that I personally want to send, and I know that you'll probably jump on this with me too, is go out and support your small business as much as you possibly can right now. So Thank you so much, Bob. And any last suggestions, thoughts, or advice, or nuggets that you can give us?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, this is a true hard time, but we have to stand up, be leaders in all aspects of our communities and for our children. And so, we will get through all of this. And like you said, Bronwyn, especially when we're out and about and our economy fully reopens, even on a local level, keep it local. I think that's the most impactful thing we can do to support our restaurants and our favorite places that we know we're all struggling, to keep moving along, but we'll all do it together.
Absolutely. Thanks so much again, Rob. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks for checking in. Good to see you, Bronwyn.
You too. Bye-bye.